while I was making this video, I realized that around about the first 5 minutes is just me rambling. So if you like the sound of my voice, feel free to hang around and listen to a couple of my opinions. Otherwise, if you just want to get to the meat of the guide, it's around about the 5-minute mark. There should be a link at the bottom, a timestamp that you can jump to. Hey guys, Hobmetrics checking in, and I thought I've been talking to people about this for a little while, so I'm doing an aim guide on Hunt Showdown specifically, but it translates to any game and every game, and by translating it to every game, you will improve your aim overall. I'd call it an essentials aiming guide rather than an all-encompassing. I'm not going to go into all the details and all the technicals and how it all works. I'm just going to show you where to go and what you need to do, and I still talk too much, so it will still probably be a very long video because I'm an idiot. Okay. For me, aim is about consistency. And the thing with Hunt Showdown is there's a lot of different guns and a lot of different scopes, and every scope has a different zoom and field of view level. And with all those different zoom levels, it creates inconsistency, which translates to you taking longer to learn how to aim in this particular game. Training yourself to have a consistent aim movement, no matter what the zoom level is, will help you a lot with your brain doing it automatically. It's especially helpful for newer players or those who use varied loadouts often. Them sweatlords who use the same loadout every time suffer from this less because they only have one or two scopes, one or two zoom levels that they have to learn and get used to, so they gain that consistency, compounded by the bullet velocity, but we're not going to get into that in this particular guide. I personally find same loadout over and over again fairly boring, and I really enjoy playing a variety of loadouts, and I like theming my loadouts, but that's my opinion, and it's my opinion, and they're entitled to play however they enjoy the game too, just as you are. Let's just say that it feels rather satisfying to walk in with a free hunter and walk out with someone else's Mosin and uppercut combination. But doing that is a guide for another day. One thing that you do want to take into consideration is the type of game that this is. It's not really a movement shooter in the same sense that Apex or even Call of Duty are. In my opinion, it is a lot of things, but it's also more of a precision shooter with a more tactical pacing where every bullet really does matter. That's actually why I enjoy the game. But due to that, I believe that the game favors a lower sensitivity than what most people may be used to. Most fights at any kind of range outside of shotgun involve smaller aim adjustments. Hunters' heads get tiny very quickly, even at medium distances, and their movements are far more consistent to track than in some other shooters, and so a low mouse sensitivity comes into its own in this game. I am by no means the ending authority on aim. I'm hardly the best player out there, and I don't pretend or profess to be. I found stuff that I found has been helpful for me, and I talk to other people about it, and they come up against the same issues that I've had, and this is how I solve those issues for myself, so I thought I would share with other people. You need to do what works for you, but when headshots have to be pixel perfect, and I like my aim to be more forgiving, so that's what this achieves for me. My personal sensitivity is around about 20 centimeters to 90 degrees. It's not exact, it's just there somewhere just to give you a ballpark of where it's at, which is I think like around 8 inches if you're American. Okay, So let me show you how to set all this up. To get my mouse movement consistent over any zoom level, which by the way, and I'm not getting into it too much, is actually technically a field of view trick, and that's the problem. Because your field of view is changing, it changes the mouse sensitivity. I won't get into it. Kovacs has a huge guide on it somewhere on his website. You can go look it up if you like. End point is I'm going to show you how to deal with that without having to understand it. I discovered a little app from Kovacs, and I'll put a link in the description of the video. It forms the basis of this setup, so you probably want to grab it. It's actually pretty awesome, and I wish it was part of the base kit of the Kovacs aim training app, because it's brilliant. I would pay for this thing if I knew it existed. I would give the guy money for it. It is so good. It allows you to make your aim consistent not only over every zoom level in a game, but over every game that you play. That page actually has a decent tutorial on how to use the tool if you're setting up your 360 between different games. But what we want to do is slightly different. So as good as that tutorial is, it's not quite what we need for what we're going to do here, because it's not actually our goal. So what you need to do is start up your game, and while all that's happening, as a side note, the goal is to set up all your sensitivities with all the different ranges of weapons. So we're going to go into the training mode, just because it's easier and safer in there and it loads faster. But because we're doing this, you might as well bring a pistol and a scoped rifle, because then we can do our non-scoped, our ADS, and one scoped range. So you're doing 3 different ranges all in one hit. And just to make it easier on you again, if you have a hunter with some perks on him, bring your marksman perk or your like Deadeye Scopesmith or whatever it is, just the perks that lessen the sway while you're zoomed in. That will help with this. It's still possible to do it without them, but it does make it slightly easier if you have those perks on. Alright, so you want to get into training mode, and then once you're there, you find a static vertical object such as a wall or door or side of a building or something, and you put that on the side of your vision, side of your field of view. And you'll also need the crosshair on. At least if you don't have it, you'll at least need it for this setup. So I'm probably just going to show you how to do it really quickly just here in the options. Right, now, so you start up the sensitivity tool. There's a setting here which is match any game. It has a keyboard shortcut, which is the Alt / button, which is also usually the question mark button, which is right next to the right Alt key. At least on my keyboard and on most QWERTY keyboards, that's how it is. This both starts and stops the measurement that we want and need. So what we do is we line up against that wall, we hit Alt / and then we move across and we hit Alt / again, and that gives us the base movement. And you can save this in the tool right here at this point. Although I find that it doesn't always work consistently, but as long as we keep the tool up for the same session, it works perfectly. So this is what we're going to do. Also, yes, if the tool's working properly, you'll know, because number one, it'll beep when you push that button, and then when you're ready to test it, you can set yourself back up against that wall and you can press Alt backspace, which will run the script. And presuming that's all working, and if it's not, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to figure it out, and I'm not including that in this guide because I don't know, it worked for me. If you brought the pistol and the scoped as I recommended, you can now ADS in with, say, the pistol, line that up against that wall, hit the button and you'll probably spin out of control because your sensitivity is way too high for ADS. So you need to go into the options and turn your ADS down and try again and again and again and again until you line up with that point. And once you've done that, all of a sudden your aim is now consistent over your normal shoulder view and your ADS view. And this is the basis of what we're doing. Seeing as you're here and you've already done it once, you can now grab that scoped weapon that I recommended you bring and do it again. The trick with the scoped weapons, however, is that there is a lot more wobble, so I tend to kind of let the wobble even out, and it's kind of a little bit of a guess. But if you've brought the perk along that I suggested, it's pretty much sorts that out for you. And you just do it again with the scope, and then you quit out of the lobby and you go and get some more guns with some more scopes, and then you come back in and you do it again and you do it again and you do it again until everything is consistent.
Well, I hope that all made sense and that you were able to find this useful. Please leave a comment in the video just to let me know what your experience was like and whether this helped you at all. I'd really like to know.